You ever think you really know someone? I thought I knew my husband, 30 years, countless birthdays, endless memories, but on my 50th birthday, I realized how little I actually knew him. And all it took was a simple, unassuming box. It started like any other birthday. The sunlight spilled gently across the kitchen, dust motes floating lazily in the golden morning. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. Comforting and familiar, I smiled, pretending that everything was normal, but something in my chest told me it wasn't. I had spent hours the night before preparing my birthday gift for him, a box. Ordinary on the outside, extraordinary on the inside. It wasn't about the material, it was about the truth I was about to reveal. He walked in, as usual, carrying lilies, and that effortless smile of his, the smile that could make anyone feel safe. I hugged him, hiding the nerves twisting in my stomach. "Happy birthday, babe," he said, his voice smooth and practiced. I returned the smile, my hand brushing over the edges of the gift box. "Open it," I said, keeping my voice casual. Even though my heart was pounding like a drum, he raised an eyebrow, curious. "A box? What's in it?" "Just open it," I repeated, trying to steady my own breathing. The moment he lifted the lid, his expression changed. It wasn't shock, or even anger, it was something deeper. A fleeting flash of fear. A crack in the mask he had worn for decades. Inside the box was a photo album. A simple leather-bound album, but every page held a story. And the story was not mine to read, or so I thought. There were photos of a woman I had never seen, children who didn't belong to me, a life my husband had hidden, meticulously, for 30 years. His eyes went wide. I could see the panic rising. Subtle but unmistakable. Where did you get this?" he stammered, trying to mask his fear with a veneer of control. "I think you know," I said softly. My voice wavered, but I held it. 30 years is a long time to hide something. And today, I wanted the truth to come out. He tried to laugh it off, but the sound cracked in his throat. I can explain," he muttered, but his gaze avoided mine. I took a step closer, my fingers brushing the cover of the album. "Explain, or finally admit the life you've been hiding from me all these years." He swallowed hard, and I noticed the tremor in his hands. For 30 years, I had lived in a house full of secrets, never knowing the depth of deception that existed behind the smiles, behind the ordinary routines. I felt a rush of anger and betrayal, but underneath it all was something darker curiosity. Who were they? How did he manage this double life? And why now, on my birthday, did everything come crashing down? The room was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Every second stretched into eternity. Every heartbeat seemed louder than the last. And then he did something I wasn't expecting. He sat down, slowly, defeatedly, like the weight of 30. Years of lies had finally caught up to him. I didn't think you'd ever find out," he whispered, almost to himself. "Well, you thought wrong," I said, and just like that, the man I thought I knew became a stranger in my own home. I thought I was ready for the truth, but nothing could prepare me for what I was about to uncover: the secret life he had built, the people he had loved, and the reason he had kept them hidden for 30 years. I thought I was ready for the truth, but some secrets aren't meant to be uncovered so easily. And the moment I saw his face change, I knew his hidden life was far bigger than I ever imagined. He sat there, staring at the photo album as if it were a ticking bomb ready to explode. I could see the color drain from his face, the lines around his eyes deepening. For 30 years he had worn a mask of ordinary, and now it was slipping, revealing a man I barely recognized. I can explain," he repeated, voice tight, almost breaking. I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter. "Explain? There's nothing to explain that makes this okay. Children? Another woman? 30 years, and you never thought I'd find out. He shook his head, eyes darting around the room like a trapped animal. I didn't want to hurt you. I was trying to protect everyone. I didn't know how to. His words trailed off. Protect everyone, I echoed, disbelief cutting through my voice. You think hiding a whole family from me is protection? You've lied about birthdays, vacations, even simple dinners. Everything was a lie. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration and guilt battling on his face. I never wanted you to feel betrayed. I loved you. I still love you. But the other life, it happened before you. I never stopped caring for them, and I never stopped caring for you. I felt my chest tighten. I had questions, hundreds of them, but the first and loudest one screamed in my mind. Why now? Why after 30 years? He looked at me, finally meeting my gaze, and there was a flicker of desperation in his eyes. You're going to find out everything eventually. I just wanted you to hear it from me first. Not like this, he said, nodding at the album. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Start talking. Every detail. I need to know the truth, all of it, and that's when it began. He told me about a woman named Margaret, someone from his early 20s, someone he thought he had lost but never really did. He told me about 2 children, a son and a daughter, and how he had quietly supported them. Sending money, helping with school fees, staying in their lives from a distance. My mind was spinning. Memories of our life together collided with the images in the photo album. Family vacations, birthday parties, anniversaries, every moment suddenly felt like it had a hidden shadow. You never thought I'd find out, I whispered, partly angry, partly scared. I didn't think you'd ever look for it. I didn't think you'd ever be curious enough, he said quietly. I closed the album, my hands trembling. Curious, I wasn't curious, I trusted you. And now, everything is broken. He leaned back, a mixture of relief and terror crossing his face. I wanted to tell you, so many times, but I was scared of losing you. Scared of what you'd think of me. I stared at him, searching for the man I thought I knew, but the man before me was fractured, tangled in decades of lies. And somehow, I needed to figure out if the love we had could survive the truth. I thought the worst was over, but it wasn't. His past wasn't just a shadow, it was a storm waiting to crash down, and the people in those photos. They were about to step out of the shadows and into our lives, whether I was ready or not. I thought seeing the album was shocking. I thought hearing his story was enough. But nothing could prepare me for the moment the people behind the pictures walked into our lives. And that's when the real storm began, a week passed after the birthday. I tried to act normal, though every glance at him felt different now, like I was looking at a stranger wearing the face of the man I once loved. Then the knock came. It was mid-afternoon, the sun hanging low in the sky, casting long shadows across our porch. I opened the door to find a woman standing there, hesitant, clutching a small suitcase like she was carrying the weight of the world. Her eyes dark, piercing, met mine, and I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. I'm looking for Michael, she said softly, almost afraid. I swallowed hard. He's here, I managed to say, stepping aside. She walked in, and behind her, 2 children appeared, a boy and a girl, not older than teens, looking around with curiosity and caution. My heart raced. These were the faces from the album. These were the people my husband had hidden for 30 years. Michael appeared from the kitchen, startled. Margaret, he whispered. His voice carried a mixture of shock, guilt, and something I couldn't name. She nodded. I think it's time she knew, and I think it's time they knew you. The room felt smaller suddenly, like the walls were closing in. The boy looked at me, wide-eyed, and I realized he had the same eyes as Michael, sharp, observant, carrying a quiet intensity. The girl's gaze was softer, almost cautious, but there was a spark of defiance that I can explain, Michael said, his hands raised, as if trying to calm the storm he had brought in. I took a step forward. Explain. After 30 years of lies, you think you can just explain? My voice trembled with anger and hurt. Margaret stepped closer. I didn't come here to fight. She said gently, I came here because it's time for the truth to be shared, for everyone, no more. Hiding. The tension in the room was suffocating, every second stretched like ours. I felt my knees weaken, the betrayal burning hotter than ever, and yet, beneath that, there was a strange pull and undeniable curiosity. I needed to know everything. Start talking, I said finally. Voice steady despite the storm inside me. I want the truth, every single detail, and they did. Margaret spoke first, explaining how their lives had intertwined with Michael's, how he had quietly supported them, stayed present from afar, but never stepped into the picture fully. The children shared snippets of memories, small moments Michael had missed, letters he had sent, gifts that arrived mysteriously. It was surreal, like watching a movie unfold in real life. The people in the photographs weren't just shadows anymore, they were real. They had voices, emotions, and stories of their own. And suddenly, I understood the depth of what had been kept from me. Michael's hands shook as he added pieces of the story, trying to weave the narrative together, trying to make sense of 30 years of secrets. And for the first time, I saw him truly vulnerable, not the polished, smiling man I had lived with, but a man caught in the web of his own choices. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. I wanted to run, but instead I stood there absorbing every word, every glance, every unspoken apology, because the truth had arrived, and there was no going back. I thought revealing the secret family would end with answers, but it didn't. It opened a Pandora's box. Every truth uncovered led to another question, another heartbreak. And the realization that the life I thought I had was only the beginning of a story I wasn't prepared to live. Seeing them here, hearing their voices, I realized something terrifying. The truth wasn't just about his past, it was about how it would change every single moment of our lives from now on. And I had to confront the man I thought I knew. The air in the living room felt thick, like a storm trapped indoors. Michael stood frozen, Margaret and the children behind him, and I felt my chest tighten, my hands clenching. 30 years, I said slowly, letting each word hit like a hammer. 30 years of your lies, hiding this life, hiding them from me. Do you even realize what this means? Michael swallowed hard. I know it's a lot to take in. I didn't mean, I cut him off sharply. You hid an entire family. You let me live a lie. Do you understand what that feels like? Margaret stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. We didn't want to hurt anyone either. None of us. But this truth, it couldn't stay buried forever. The children shifted, uneasy, glancing at Michael. Their presence made the betrayal even more real. He hadn't just lied to me. He had woven an entire life in secret. I loved you, Michael said, finally meeting my gaze. I've loved you every day. But I had responsibilities. I didn't know how to handle it all. I laughed bitterly, a sound that surprised even me. Responsibilities, you call lying, hiding, and manipulating a life irresponsible. He flinched, but didn't back down. I did what I thought was right at the time. I was scared of losing you. Scared of losing them. I thought I could manage both lives without hurting anyone. Manage both lives, I echoed, disbelief burning in my voice. You can't manage one life when it's built on lies. How could you even look me in the eye every day and pretend like everything was normal? The room fell silent for a moment, broken only by the quiet sniffle of the girl. She was small, timid, but there was a spark in her eyes, a silent question. a silent plea. Why didn't he choose us? I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Tell me something, Michael. After all these years, after everything, who do you belong to, me, them? Or this lie you've been living? He hesitated, and the weight of decades pressed down on him. Finally, he spoke, voice barely above a whisper. I don't know any more. I love all of you, and I hate myself for how I handled it. Tears stung my eyes. Anger, betrayal, confusion all mixing into a storm I couldn't control. I don't even know who you are anymore, I said softly, my voice cracking. The man I married, is he real, or was he just a version of himself that I was allowed to see? Margaret reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. He's real, she said gently. But so are the mistakes. So are the lives he's been trying to protect in his own way. I stepped back, trying to catch my breath. My mind was racing. Every memory of our life together, the vacations, the quiet nights, the laughter suddenly felt tainted by the shadow of secrets, and yet, even in the middle of all this chaos, a small part of me wanted to understand. To untangle the years of deception, to find the man I thought I loved buried somewhere beneath it all. But that would take time, and right now, all I could do was stand there, facing a reality that had been hidden for 30 years and realizing that nothing, not even my own birthday, would ever be the same again. I thought the confrontation would bring clarity, maybe even closure. Instead, it opened a new chapter of tension, uncertainty, and raw emotion. And little did I know, the secret family had plans of their own, plans that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and truth. Seeing them wasn't enough. Hearing them wasn't enough. The real test began the moment their lives collided with ours, when the children stepped forward, curious, emotional, and unafraid to challenge the reality I had built for 30 years. The next morning, the house felt different. Every corner seemed heavier, filled with unspoken words, with eyes darting cautiously between me and Michael. The children lingered in the living room, shy but clearly curious about everything around them. I found myself watching them, trying to reconcile the faces from the album with the reality in front of me. They were real, alive, part of his life that had existed in shadows for decades. The boy David, I learned, was bold, almost daring. He eyed our living room, touching objects, asking questions, testing boundaries. This is where he lives, he asked, glancing at Michael. Yes, Michael replied softly, this is home, my home, and Mom didn't know. David asked bluntly, his eyes narrowing. You've been sneaking around all these years. I flinched. His words hit like a knife. But I also caught a flicker of amusement in Michael's face. It wasn't sneaking. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said, voice strained. The girl, Lily, was quieter, but her gaze was sharp. Right thing, she repeated, tilting her head. By hiding us, by hiding everything. I felt my heart pound. Her words echoed my own thoughts. My own anger. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, to pull him apart piece by piece until I understood the logic of a life built on secrecy. And yet I couldn't. Something in their faces softened the fury just enough to make me pause. They were innocent. They hadn't chosen this. Margaret stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Lily's shoulder. We're not here to cause trouble, she said. We're here because it's time to be part of his life. To be honest. To try to find a place, if you'll allow it. I looked at Michael. His hands were trembling slightly as he rubbed his face. I never wanted this to hurt anyone, he whispered. I swallowed hard, fighting the mix of anger and curiosity boiling inside me. Then show me. Show me how this works. How this life you've hidden fits into mine. How we fit into yours. The room went quiet. For the first time, it felt like we were all standing at the edge of something unknown, Teetering between chaos and possibility, David stepped forward, determination in his eyes. I don't want to be a secret anymore. I want him to be honest. With everyone. Lily nodded, gripping her small suitcase. We deserve that. And maybe we can try to be a family now. If you're brave enough to let us. I met Michael's gaze. The man I thought I knew looked broken, guilty, and yet somehow ready to face the consequences. For the first time, I saw a glimmer of hope that the pieces of this fractured life might somehow fit together. But hope was fragile, too fragile, and I knew that the coming days would test all of us, myself, Michael, and the family he had hidden for 30 years. Secrets had a way of tearing through lives. And I wasn't sure we were ready for the storm ahead. We weren't just facing truths anymore, we were facing the collision of two worlds. The life I had known and the secret world Michael had built, and as they began to integrate into our lives. I realized that nothing, not love, not time, not loyalty could prepare me for what came next. The first steps toward understanding are always the hardest. And as they settled into our home, I realized that love, trust, and loyalty weren't just tests, they were battlefields. The morning after their arrival, the house felt alive in a way I wasn't prepared for. Voices echoed in the hallways, small footsteps on the stairs, the subtle laughter of children, sounds that should have been comforting, but instead made my chest tighten. David was at the kitchen table, carefully examining our family photo albums, comparing them to the new ones from the box. So, this is all the life he's been hiding? He asked, not accusing, but curious. I glanced at Michael, who rubbed the back of his neck nervously. Yes. It's complicated. David raised an eyebrow. Complicated? He let out a short, incredulous laugh. You hid them for 30 years and that's complicated. I felt a pang of empathy mixed with frustration. The boy had a point. Every word he said echoed the questions I had been asking myself for days. Meanwhile, Lily lingered near the doorway, eyeing me carefully. She held herself with a quiet dignity, like she was constantly measuring me. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but firm. I don't want to replace you, she said. But I also don't want to be invisible anymore. I froze for a moment. Her words cut deep. She wasn't challenging me, but she wasn't afraid to claim her place either. And in that instant, I realized the enormity of what Michael had done, not just the lies, but the delicate balancing act of two lives existing in parallel. Then we figure it out, I said slowly, choosing my words. We figure out how we live together. All of us. No hiding. No secrets. Just honesty. Michael let out a shaky breath, relief and fear mingling on his face. I want that. I never wanted anyone to get hurt, but I see now I can't fix this alone. The first moments of tentative connection were soon tested. David, ever perceptive, noticed my hesitation. You're still mad, he said bluntly. You don't even know if you want us. I took a deep breath, realizing he was right. My emotions were a storm: anger, betrayal, curiosity, even a strange flicker of hope. I wanted to guide them, to welcome them. But my heart was raw from 30 years of deceit. Margaret intervened. Her voice calm and grounding. Give it time, she said gently. They're scared too, they've lived with partial truths all their lives. As the day unfolded, small moments began to shift the energy in the house. Michael cooked lunch for all of us, nervously checking if anyone liked it. Lily offered to help, and I noticed a fleeting smile on her face as she stirred the sauce, trying to bridge the gap silently. David, meanwhile, cautiously asked Michael about memories he had only glimpsed through letters and photos. By evening, something had changed. The tension hadn't vanished, but the silence had been replaced by conversation, by curiosity, by an awkward yet undeniable connection forming between us all. And yet, lurking beneath the fragile bonds were questions that had no easy answers. How much could we trust each other? Could Michael truly integrate both worlds? And what hidden truths had he yet to reveal, truths that could still shatter everything we were trying to build? For the first time, hope flickered in the cracks of betrayal, but hope is fragile, and as I watched them laughing over small, tentative jokes, I knew the past still had power over us and the next revelation could change everything. Just when I thought I had seen the worst of his lies, the past pulled me back in, because some secrets don't live alone, they have layers, shadows within shadows. And the family he had hidden for 30 years had their own truths waiting to surface. The morning light spilled through the kitchen window, but it didn't bring warmth. Instead, it illuminated the tension that had quietly settled into the house. Conversations were sparse, polite, careful. David and Lily were curious, yes, but they were also guarded, like prey testing whether it was safe to trust. I found Michael sitting at the table, staring at a stack of unopened letters. He looked older than his 50 years, worn by decades of secrecy. "What's that?" I asked cautiously. He sighed, finally speaking. "Things I never told anyone. Things I thought no one needed to know. Not even you." I felt a cold pang in my chest. "Not even me?" "After everything, there's more." "Yes," he said quietly. "And it's not just about Margaret and the kids. There's more about who they are, how they came to be, the mistakes I made along the way. Things that mighty hurt." David overheard and leaned forward, curiosity mixed with impatience. "Hurt who?" Michael hesitated, then took a deep breath. "Hurt you. Hurt her. Hurt everyone who gets involved in this messy life I've been living." I stepped closer, feeling both fear and determination. "Michael, if we're going to survive this, I need the full truth. No more hiding, no more shadows now." He nodded, swallowing hard. "It started long before we met. Margaret and I, we were young. I made promises I couldn't keep. Choices I thought were right at the time, but I hurt people along the way. And the kids, they were caught in the middle. I tried to do right by them, but I failed in ways I can't undo." Lily's hand found her brother's, and they exchanged a glance that said more than words. "Why didn't you ever tell us?" she asked softly. "I thought I was protecting you," Michael admitted. "I didn't want anyone to feel abandoned. But in trying to protect, I only created more pain." The weight of his words hung in the air. I felt dizzy, caught between empathy and rage. Every revelation was like a dagger twisting in my chest, yet I couldn't turn away. I needed to know. David leaned forward, voice steady. "There's something else, isn't there? Something you're not saying." Michael looked at me, his eyes pleading. "There's more. Things about the past, mistakes, debts, relationships that weren't what they seemed. I never wanted them to come into our lives because I was ashamed, because I thought maybe some things were better left buried." I clenched my fists. "Better left buried?" "Michael, the past doesn't stay buried, it follows you. It's here now. And we have to deal with it, whether we like it or not." He nodded, defeated. "I know, and I'll tell you everything. But it's messy. It won't be easy." I took a deep breath, my heart racing. "Nothing about this is easy. But we have to face it, all of it. Together, no more lies, no more shadows for the first time." The house felt like a battlefield of truths, but also like the start of something real. The hidden layers of his life were finally surfacing, and while it was painful, there was a strange relief in knowing that the secrets could no longer hide in the shadows. The past had arrived fully, uninvited and unstoppable, and as the hidden layers of his life unraveled, I realized that confronting one secret was only the beginning. There were deeper betrayals waiting. And the emotional fallout could destroy us all or bring us closer than ever before. I thought facing the secrets would bring clarity. I thought knowing the truth would ease the storm. But the truth doesn't calm a storm, it fuels it. And as the hidden layers of his life spilled into ours, the fallout hit harder than I ever imagined. By mid-morning, the house felt tense, charged with unspoken words and simmering emotions. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of decades of lies. David paced the living room, fists clenched. So, all these years, we were just shadows. We weren't real enough for him to include in his life. His voice was loud, trembling with hurt. Michael's shoulders slumped. No, you were always important. I made mistakes. I thought I could handle everything on my own. David stopped pacing, eyes blazing. Mistakes. You call 30 years of hiding us from Mom and the world mistakes? That's not a mistake, Dad. That's betrayal. I felt my own anger rising, a storm echoing his. Exactly, betrayal. You think love excuses betrayal. You think decades of lies can be hidden behind I made mistakes. Lily, quiet until now, stepped forward. I don't hate you, Dad, but you need to understand how much this hurt us. All of us. Mom too. We're not just some side story in your life. We're real, and we deserve to be treated that way. Margaret placed a hand on Michael's arm, her eyes full of warning and compassion. You need to take responsibility. Not just for us, but for the life you've built with her. This isn't just about your guilt, it's about how your actions have impacted everyone around you. Michael's head dropped, a deep, shuddering breath escaping him. I know I've ruined so much. I didn't think anyone could forgive me. I didn't know how to face the damage I caused. I crossed my arms, heart pounding, eyes burning. Forgiveness. Right now, I don't even know if I can forgive you. You built a life full of lies, and now we're left picking up the pieces. And you want forgiveness? His voice cracked. I don't deserve it, but I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. To make it right. The children looked at him, waiting for him to say something more. Waiting for a sign that the man behind the lies could actually be trusted. David finally spoke, softer this time. Fixing it isn't enough. You need to prove it, every day. Not just words, actions, because trust isn't given, it's earned, and you haven't earned it yet. Lily nodded in agreement, gripping her mother's hand tightly. We need to see who you really are, Dad, and if you're ready to face that, maybe we can try. The room was silent after that, tension hanging like a fog. Every one of us knew the road ahead would be painful, messy, and uncertain. The past had caught up, and it demanded reckoning, and I realized something terrifying. The storm wasn't just outside, it was inside all of us. The betrayal, the secrets, the lies, they had changed everything. And now we had to decide whether we would let the past destroy us or find a way to survive it. We had faced the confrontation, we had faced the revelations, but the emotional fallout was only the beginning. There were still betrayals waiting to surface, choices to be made. And a storm that could either tear us apart or force us to redefine what family really meant. I thought we'd seen it all. I thought the worst was out in the open. But some truths aren't ready to be uncovered until they hit you like a lightning bolt. And that day, the past didn't just knock, it stormed through our lives. It started innocently enough, or at least it seemed that way. Michael was showing David and Lily some old letters, trying to explain a portion of their hidden childhood, the careful ways he had been involved without being fully present. I lingered in the doorway, observing quietly, my emotions a whirlwind: anger, disbelief, but a flicker of curiosity. I wanted to understand. To see if the man I loved could finally be honest and rebuild what he had shattered. Then I noticed a letter, slightly different from the rest. Its envelope was worn. The handwriting unfamiliar. Michael frowned as he opened it, scanning the words quickly. "What is it?" I asked, my voice tight with curiosity. He swallowed hard, eyes widening. I don't know. I never expected this." David leaned forward. "Expected what?" Michael's hands shook slightly as he held up the letter. "It's from someone I thought gone. Someone I believed would never come back into my life." Margaret stepped closer, concern etched on her face. "Michael, what does it say?" He hesitated, then read aloud, voice barely steady. "If you want to see them again, you will have to tell the truth, all of it. No lies, no secrets. The time for hiding is over." A heavy silence fell over the room. I felt my heart pound in my chest. "See them again." "Who?" I asked, dread creeping into my voice. Michael's face went pale. "My other family. The one I thought I'd left behind decades ago. They've been watching, waiting, and now they want everything exposed." David's eyes narrowed. "Other family? You mean another one?" Michael nodded slowly, the weight of the secret pressing down on him. Double quotes, yes. "A family I had before Margaret, children. A wife. I thought I had severed ties long ago. I thought the past was behind me. But it's not. And now it's here." Lily gasped, gripping her mother's arm. "How many families are there?" I felt my knees weaken. I had imagined a hidden family. Yes, but another one. Another set of lives intertwined with his lies. The scope of his deception stretched beyond comprehension. This changes everything," I said, my voice trembling. "You've been hiding not one, but 2 lives from me, from all of us." Michael nodded, looking utterly defeated. "I thought I could manage it. I thought I could protect everyone, but I was wrong. And now I don't know how to fix this." "I don't know if it can be fixed." Margaret stepped forward, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. "We'll handle it together. But you have to be honest. No more hiding. No more lies. Every truth, every secret, it has to come out." The children watched him, their expressions a mix of fear, anger, and curiosity, and in that moment I realized something. The man I thought I had spent 30 years with was only partially real. The rest had been carefully constructed lies, and now the past had returned to reclaim him and all of us. I took a deep breath, bracing myself. The storm wasn't over, it had just intensified, and the choices we made in the coming hours could destroy everything or finally force the truth into the light, where it belonged. The shocking revelation wasn't just a secret, it was a ticking time bomb, and as the past collided with the present, I knew one thing for certain: nothing in our lives would ever be the same again. The time for hiding was truly over. We thought we were bracing for the truth. We thought we could handle the secrets. But the moment choices had to be made, decisions that could destroy or save us, we realized the storm wasn't just outside. It was inside all of us. The house was silent that evening, but the tension was suffocating. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, every glance a silent question. Who will survive this? Who will fall? Michael sat at the dining table, the photo album and letters spread before him like evidence of a life he could no longer hide. His hands trembled as he sifted through memories, some cherished, some regretful, all haunting. David and Lily hovered nearby, cautious but unrelenting. "We need answers," David said firmly. "We can't rebuild trust without the whole story." I nodded, stepping closer. "It's time. No more hiding. Michael, tell us everything, the past, the other family, every choice that led us here." He looked at me, guilt and fear etched on his face. I don't even know where to start. There's so much: mistakes, lies, people I've hurt." Margaret's hand rested on his arm. "Start anywhere, just be honest, no more." Shadows, and he did. He told us about the second family, how he had met another woman in his early 20s, how circumstances had pulled them apart, how children had been born, and how he had tried to distance himself while keeping them financially supported. How he thought the past was behind him, until now the room was heavy with emotion. Anger, confusion, fear, and even a flicker of understanding mingled together. David's jaw tightened, Lily's eyes glistened, and I felt a mix of betrayal and strange empathy. Finally, Michael looked at me, eyes pleading. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect understanding. I just need a chance to make this right. To rebuild, if it's even possible. I took a deep breath. The decision wasn't just his, it was mine. We all had to decide whether to let the past destroy us or to confront it together. David broke the silence. We can't just pretend this never happened. But maybe we can try. If he's honest, if he's willing to face the consequences. Lily nodded slowly. I want to try, but I need to see he's serious, that he's not just words. I felt the weight of the moment. 30 years of lies, decades of deception, and now the choice to either collapse under the truth or rise above it. Finally, I spoke, voice firm but wavering. We'll try. But it won't be easy. There will be pain, there will be anger, and there will be moments we doubt everything. But if we're going to survive this, we do it together. No more secrets. No more hiding. Michael exhaled, a mixture of relief and terror washing over him. Thank you. I'll do whatever it takes. Margaret smiled faintly, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Then let's start. Step by step, truth by truth, we rebuild, or at least, we try. For the first time in weeks, the storm seemed to ease just a little. Not gone, not quiet, but manageable. And in that fragile calm, I realized the journey ahead would define us all, not just Michael, not just the children, but all of us together. The turning point had come, decisions had been made, but the path to redemption is never straight, and as we stepped forward, guided by fragile trust, we knew the next challenge would test everything we thought we knew about love, loyalty, and family. For weeks, our house had felt like a battlefield. But sometimes, even in the ruins, you find cracks where light can get in. And for the first time, I saw the possibility of real connection forming, messy, fragile, but real. The morning light came gently through the windows, casting a soft glow across the living room. The house still felt charged with tension, but something had shifted. The first step toward healing had begun. David and Lily were sitting at the kitchen table with Michael, looking through photo albums and letters together. This time, there wasn't accusation in their eyes, just questions, curiosity, and cautious engagement. Lily glanced up at me, her expression tentative. Mom, I think he's trying. I see it in him. And I see it in us too. Maybe. I felt a lump in my throat. Trying isn't enough yet. But it's a start. Michael looked up from the photos, hands trembling slightly. I know I have a lot to prove. Words aren't enough. I'll show you every day if you let me. David leaned back, still skeptical. We'll see. Actions matter more than words. For ours, small moments began to mend the invisible fractures. Michael helped Lily with her homework, laughed quietly with David about childhood stories, and even shared some awkward family memories with me, memories he had never admitted out loud. I watched, feeling my anger and suspicion soften, just a little. The man I loved and trusted, in bits and pieces, was still here. Beneath the mistakes, beneath the lies, there was still someone real. Margaret stayed quietly, observing the interactions, occasionally offering guidance or support. It's hard, she said softly. But this is the only way forward. They need to see he's human, not perfect. And he needs to see they're real, not just shadows of a hidden life. The afternoon brought laughter small, hesitant, but genuine. David told a funny story from Michael's letters, and even I found myself smiling at the absurdity of some childhood moments. Lily joined in, teasing her brother lightly, and I felt something I hadn't in weeks, hope. But the healing was fragile. Every laugh was undercut by the weight of past betrayals. Every smile carried a shadow of doubt. I knew we weren't out of the storm yet. The path ahead would be rocky, emotional, and unpredictable. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the living room, I realized something important. The fractures in our family weren't going to disappear overnight, but if we were brave. If we faced every truth together. Maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild something stronger than what had been broken. The emotional reconciliation had begun, but the climax of our story was approaching. Old secrets still lurked, unspoken fears lingered, and the real test of trust and love was yet to come. And when it hit, it would change everything. The moment I had dreaded for 30 years finally arrived. All the lies, all the hidden lives, all the carefully buried secrets, they crashed into our world at once. And nothing would ever be the same again. The house felt alive with tension, every corner humming with anticipation. Michael stood at the center of the living room, letters and photographs scattered across the floor like pieces of a shattered life. His hands trembled as he looked at all of us. David and Lily stood nearby, eyes wide with a mixture of fear, anger, and determination. Margaret held them close, her calm presence a tether in the storm. And I felt my heart hammering in my chest, every nerve alert, knowing the moment of reckoning had come. I can't hide anything anymore, Michael said, voice raw. Everything, the past, the lies, the other family, it all comes out now. No more shadows. No more secrets. He began to speak, piece by piece, unraveling decades of carefully constructed deception. He told us about every choice he had made, every hidden relationship, every child he had tried to support from afar. He revealed names, dates, moments, and regrets. David's jaw tightened. You lied to all of us. Not just Mom, not just us, you lied to yourself too. Lily's eyes brimmed with tears. How could you think this was okay? Michael's voice broke. I thought I was protecting everyone. I thought I could keep everyone safe. But I was wrong. So wrong, and then came the revelation that shocked us all. One letter, unopened until now, contained proof that someone we had assumed lost or distant was actively trying to reconnect. Not just Margaret's family, not just the children we knew, but the other hidden family Michael had never fully confessed. They know everything now, Michael whispered, voice shaking. They're coming. They've seen the letters. They want to meet us, all of us, at once. The room went silent. Each of us processing the magnitude of what he had just said for 30 years. His life had been divided. Now the divisions were about to collide head-on, leaving no room for secrecy, no place to hide. David finally spoke, voice steady but hard. Then it's time to face it, all of it. No more waiting, no more running. If we survive this, it's because we're honest together. Lily nodded, gripping her mother's hand. We can't control what's coming, but we can face it, as a family. If you're ready to be honest, Dad, then maybe we can survive it. Michael's eyes filled with tears. I'll face it. Everything. I'm ready. I don't care how hard it is, I won't run anymore. For the first time, the storm felt like it had a purpose. The reckoning had arrived, painful and inevitable, but it was the only way to cleanse the years of deception. And in that moment, I realized we were on the edge of destruction, but also on the edge of something that could finally be real. The doorbell rang, sharp and insistent. Margaret exhaled slowly. This is it. The others are here. No turning back. We exchanged glances, hearts pounding, knowing the next moments would define all of us, every truth laid bare. Every emotion raw, every bond tested, and when the door opened, the collision of past and present began. The secrets were fully exposed. The hidden family had arrived, and as the past and present collided, we would either shatter completely or find a way to survive the storm together. The storm had arrived in full force, and the collision of past and present left nothing untouched. Every secret exposed, every truth spoken. Now it was time to face the consequences, and to decide if any of us could survive the wreckage. The door swung open, and standing there were the other family members' faces I had never seen, yet immediately recognized from the letters and photographs. Children who mirrored Michael's eyes, a woman whose expression blended anger, fear, and hope. The room was electric with tension. I felt my hands tremble, my chest tight, my mind racing. This was real. This wasn't just words anymore, it was life, complicated and messy, and it had finally arrived. Michael stepped forward, hands raised slightly in a gesture of peace. I know this is a lot. I can't change the past, but I want to try to make things right. Please give me a chance. The woman's eyes softened just slightly, but her voice was firm. We deserve honesty. Not excuses. Not partial truths. All of it. Now, the children behind her whispered softly to each other, glances filled with curiosity and caution. Their presence made the reality hit even harder. Michael hadn't just lived a life of secrecy, he had split himself between two worlds, and now both were here, colliding. David stepped forward, voice strong. If we're going to do this, it has to be together. No more hiding. No more lies. We survive this only if we face it, all of us. Lily nodded in agreement. Every truth, every secret, no matter how painful, that's the only way we move forward. I took a deep breath, summoning all my strength. This is our family now, all of us. It won't be easy. There will be fights, there will be anger, and there will be tears. But if we want any chance at surviving this, we do it together. No more running, no more hiding. Margaret stepped beside me, offering silent support. It's going to be hard, she said quietly. But maybe this is the start of something real. And then it began. Awkward conversations, tentative introductions, confessions, apologies. Michael guided everyone through the tangled web of his life, laying bare every hidden choice, every mistake. Every regret. For ours, emotions ran high, anger flared, tears fell, and at moments, the tension threatened to explode, but slowly, painfully. A fragile thread of understanding began to form, not complete trust, not yet, but the first glimmers of connection. By evening, exhaustion settled over the room. Faces streaked with tears, voices hoarse from talking and shouting, hearts heavy, but something had shifted. The secrets were no longer shadows, they were out in the open. And the first steps toward healing had been taken. I looked around the room at this fractured, complicated family. We were not whole. We were not perfect. But we were together. And for the first time in decades, that felt like something worth holding onto. The fallout had left scars, but it also offered a chance to rebuild. The past could no longer hurt us in secrecy. Now, it was time to see if we could turn pain into connection. Mistakes into understanding, and chaos into family. The storm had passed, but its echoes lingered. Scars remained, doubts lingered, and hearts were fragile. Yet, in the aftermath of chaos, something unexpected began to grow, the possibility of healing. The following days were quiet, not empty, but reflective. Conversations were slower, more deliberate. Every word measured, every glance considered. The house, once charged with tension, now carried a tentative calm, as though it too was learning to breathe after years of hidden truths. Michael moved carefully, conscious of every step, every word. He wasn't trying to erase the past he knew that was impossible, but he was trying to show, through actions, that he could be trusted again. David watched him closely, skeptical but curious. "I don't know if I believe it yet," he said one afternoon, arms crossed. "You've got a lot to prove," Michael nodded. "I know. And I will. Every day, I'll prove it. No more secrets. No more lies." Lily approached me quietly, her small hand reaching for mine. "Mom, do you think we can really be one family?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past, but also a flicker of hope. "I don't know if it will be perfect, but I do know this we're trying, and sometimes trying is enough to start rebuilding." Margaret watched the exchange with a soft smile. "It's the small moments that matter," she said. "A shared laugh, a conversation, a helping hand. That's how trust grows, and slowly, painfully." The small moments began to appear. Michael helped Lily with school projects. David shared jokes and memories. Margaret guided all of us through awkward family dynamics. Even I began to see glimpses of the man I had married, not the perfect, unbroken husband I had imagined, but the flawed, repentant, and trying version of him. We didn't erase the past, it was impossible. But step by step, moment by moment, we began to carve a space for honesty, laughter, and connection. The house began to feel less like a battlefield and more like a home. One evening, as the sun set and the room glowed in warm light, we gathered together, Michael, Margaret, the children, and I. There were smiles, tentative but real. Conversations flowed more freely. And in that shared space, for the first time, I felt a fragile but undeniable sense of belonging. We were still fractured. We were still complicated. But for the first time, the past felt like a story we could carry together, rather than a burden we carried alone. The healing had begun, but the journey wasn't over. The final chapter awaited a cinematic conclusion where reflections are made, bonds are solidified, and the lingering impact of the past is finally confronted. After 30 years of secrets, lies, and hidden lives, the final moment had arrived. The storm had passed, the wreckage lay around us, but from it, something fragile, powerful, and real could finally emerge, a family reborn. The house was quiet, bathed in the soft glow of evening light. Shadows danced across the walls, but they no longer felt threatening. They were reminders of what we had survived, not what could destroy us. Michael sat in the living room, letters and photographs neatly stacked on the table. He looked at us, all of us, his expression a mix of relief, humility, and hope. "I can't change the past," he said softly. Voice steady now, "but I can choose how we move forward. Together, no more secrets. No more lies, only honesty, and whatever love we can give each other." David's arms were crossed, skeptical yet attentive. After a long pause, he exhaled. "I'll give it a chance. But we all have to work at it. Every day. No shortcuts." Lily smiled faintly, squeezing her mother's hand. "I want to try. And I think maybe we can make it work." Margaret nodded. "It won't be easy. But it's possible. If we're brave enough to face ourselves and each other every day." I looked around the room at this complicated, imperfect family, faces marked with tears, eyes still reflecting past pain, but also glimmers of hope, determination, and love. "This is our family now," I said quietly, but firmly. "All of us, not perfect, not complete, but real, and that's enough to start." We gathered together, hesitant at first, then closer, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. The children laughed softly, the adults smiled, and for the first time in decades, The house felt like a home, not just a building, but a place of connection, honesty, and fragile trust. Michael pulled me close, whispering, "Thank you for giving us a chance even after everything." I held him tightly, my heart full, and whispered back, "We survived it together, and that's the only way we'll ever make it." Outside, the sunset, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, a cinematic end to a story that had begun in secrets and pain, but now ended in hope, resilience, and love. The past had left its scars, the lies had left their shadows, but the present, the now, was ours to shape. And as we stood there, united in imperfection, I realized something profound. Family isn't about a flawless past. It's about choosing each other, even after the storm, every single day. The journey had been long. The secrets had been deep. But here, in this moment, we were free. Free to rebuild, free to love, and free to finally be a family. The story closes with cinematic visuals of the family together, laughter mingling with quiet moments of reflection, and the promise that despite the scars of the past, the bonds we choose to nurture today are what truly define us.